Episode 13, What Happens in the Gap. There's a space between who you were and who you are becoming. And most men don't know what to do there. Because the gap feels strange. It's quiet. It's uncomfortable. You've started to see things differently. You've started questioning old patterns. You've started noticing the lies, and you've started trying to live differently, and yet part of you still feels like you're standing still, like nothing is happening. This is the moment where most men panic, not outwardly, but internally. They start forcing things. They start pushing, trying harder, looking for certainty and looking for that immediate proof, something that they can point to and say, there, it's working. But real change rarely works like that, because some of the deepest work that God does in a man happens in the gap. The place where things are no longer what they were, but not fully what they're about to become yet. And if you don't understand that, you'll misinterpret the silence. You'll think, nothing's happening. Maybe this isn't working. Maybe I'm still the same man. But silence does not mean absence. And slow does not mean dead. Roots grow quietly. That's one of the hardest things for a man to accept, because we've been trained by a world that worships visibility. Think about it. Everyone wants results. They want proof. There's noise. Everything loud, everything instant, everything demanding your attention. But truth does not work like that. And God doesn't work like that either. Truth never fights to be heard. It never screams over the noise. It never forces itself into the room. It waits. Quietly, steadily, like a foundation underneath everything else. And the strange thing is, when you finally slow down enough to hear it, when you start to tune it in, it starts to get louder and louder than everything that used to control you. Not because it changed, because you did. Most men miss this because they keep looking for God in the loudest voice, the biggest sign, the biggest breakthrough, the emotional high. But the voice of truth is usually the quiet one in the background, saying things like, slow down, look again, tell the truth, stay right here, or sometimes keep going. And it never demands your attention. You have to choose to listen for it. And that's why so many men stay trapped in noise. Because noise is easier. Noise distracts you from yourself, from your problems, from your circumstances. But truth brings you face to face with yourself. And that's where that story that I mentioned in the last episode keeps coming back. The man sitting at the pool in Bethesda, waiting to be healed year after year, watching other people move forward while he stayed where he was. And then Jesus walks up to him and he asks something almost offensive. Do you want to be healed? Do you even want to be healed? At first, that question, that's what I said, it makes no sense, right? Of course he does. Why else would he be there? But the older I get, the more I understand the question. Because people generally get exactly what they want. Now that's going to sting a little bit. It's you don't get what you say you want. People get what they're willing to surrender for, what they're willing to stay through, what they are willing to become. What you accept in life is what you get, right? And healing sounds beautiful until it starts requiring you to let go of the identity that you've built around that wound. Because if you get healed, you can't keep hiding anymore. You can't keep blaming the same thing, blaming the same people, blaming the same circumstances. You can't keep returning to that same old story. And that's why surrender matters more than effort. Most men think change is work, grinding, forcing, aggressive, right? Trying harder. But some of the deepest transformation in my life happened when I finally stopped trying to control everything and started surrendering instead. Not giving up, letting go. There's a difference because surrender finally creates space for God to do what your striving never could. And that brings me back to the gap we mentioned in previous episode, because the gap is not empty. It only feels empty when you're still looking for noise. Think about that for a moment. If all you're hearing is noise, a gap, that can be a lot to take, right? But God does some of his deepest work there, in the silence, in the waiting, in the places where you can't force your way forward anymore. And that's why you have to slow down. And I mean really slow down. And I'm not talking physically here about your speed or your productivity or efficiency. I'm talking about in this space where you have these thoughts. You need to slow it down. Not because life becomes less important, but because you finally start hearing what actually matters. And when you do, you start realizing something that might feel strange. A lot of answers you're looking for are already inside you. Not because you're God, because God placed wisdom inside of you long ago. And it got buried underneath things like fear, noise, distraction, survival, and constant reaction. And that's why one of the most powerful questions that you can ask yourself when you're facing something is this: if I already knew what to do, what would the first step be? Not the whole plan, not the whole future, just the first thing. And usually, here's what you're going to find out. Usually, you already know. I use this in coaching. If you've got a problem, state your problem. If I already knew how to solve this problem, what would I do first? And then write a list. Just brainstorm. Just puke all over the page. Write as many things as you can think, and then just let it sit for a little while, and then come back to it and see what jumps off the page, and then just meditate on those one or two things, and you're going to find answers are going to start to come. You already know the conversation you need to have, the habit you need to stop, the thing you need to let go of, or maybe the truth you need to admit. But always you're going to find that next faithful step. And it's just one. It's one step. It's the next step. We all think I used to get stopped all the time thinking I had to have it all figured out. And it's just crap. All you need is the next step. And what becomes apparent after that is the next one. So you just keep waiting for certainty before movement, but clarity usually comes after obedience, not before. And that's faith, man. Not pretending, not forcing yourself to feel something, but moving toward truth before all your feelings catch up with it. Scripture says, "Be still and know that I am God." From the Bible, be still. Not louder, not faster, still. Because the world is constantly training you to react. You guys already know this. But God is trying to teach you to listen. And maybe that's the real reason that the gap feels so uncomfortable. Because it's the first place that you can actually finally begin to hear again. So if you're in that space right now where things feel quiet, they feel uncertain, they feel slow, don't rush to escape it. Don't try to force your way through it. Don't run back to the noise just because silence feels unfamiliar. Stay there a little longer. Listen a little deeper. Meditate on it. Because maybe nothing's wrong. Maybe this is the exact place where the old version of you is finally becoming quiet enough for the real you to emerge. And maybe God has been speaking the whole time, not louder, just deeper. And listen, if you're starting to realize that there's more happening underneath your life than you thought, that's exactly why everything that we built exists. Not to give you more noise. We don't want to contribute to the minutia out there, but to help you slow down enough to actually hear truth again. There's a free app. It's called Severin. It's on the Apple App Store. It's simple, it's quiet, it's just daily orientation, a way to stay grounded instead of constantly getting pulled back into the noise. And if you want to go deeper into the patterns, the strongholds, and the lies that have been running your life, the real fight is the field guide for that. And then if you're ready to stop trying to walk this path alone, man, that's where my coaching program comes in. It's not hype, it's not motivation, it's real structure, real brotherhood, real transformation. Everything is there. You can find it at resurrectionkings.com. Not because I built this and think that everybody should have it, but there was a time that I needed this too. And this is what God built through me in the spaces where I thought nothing was happening. The gap is not empty. Sometimes it's the holiest place that you'll ever stand. And we're just getting started.